Hey, mister!
Have you heard about Stellaris? Stellaris is set in the year of 2200, where humanity was finally able to boldly go where no man has ever gone before, and overcome its differences by working together towards a common goal. Oh wait, oh no, engage in diplomacy, battle the other human empire over a small border dispute, be surprised by the immense fleet to join them in battle, be defeated and vassalize. Have your armada shrunken down and your land seized, have your capital used by sodomites and degenerates. Invest all your money in rebuilding your fleets, fight all the wars for your overlord. Sneakily acquire the technology of the battle debris, develop new deadly weapons, raise your army exponentially. When asked, why would you need so many battleships? Say no reply. Do a little trolling. Purge all who oppose you. Kill the Xenos with extreme prejudice. Doom the entire galaxy to oblivion. If you're also a main child like me, this game is for you. I have played this game on and off for some years now, and I must say, it's pretty damn good. So if you're not yet convinced to try the best genocide simulator available in the market, come with me in this journey full of beautiful scenery, weird mechanics that are borderline esoteric knowledge, and a lot of questioning your ethics and morals. For achieving Utopia, some sacrifices will be needed, but that's not a problem, as long as the sacrificed isn't you. You start the game by making your own empire, or choosing one from the base empires they offer. If it is your first time, it will feel overwhelming to make your own civilization, and that's because it is. Paradox likes games with a steep learning curve, but thankfully this is one of their easiest. You start your empire by choosing from a variety of weird different alien species like Orc, Klingon, Vulcan, Irish, Yag, Argonian, Asari, and women. The possibilities are endless, from furries to scalies. You will find your new favorite persona here. Personally, I am not a child predator, so I don't access any furage image Boru. Therefore, the only species I play is human. Species are divided into two groups, biologic and robotic. The robotic species don't have to eat and don't die of old age, while biological species have the incredible advantage of having to manage more resources and having trade that's often attacked by pirates. Inside the biological species there are also the lithoids that play a little different than the rest. The rock gets to live longer, since I have never seen a rock die. They are stronger as expected. They have increased habitability so they can adapt to any environment and are slower to reproduce. What I mentioned just now are traits of the lithoid species, but there are many other traits to choose that can help your species out. So let's talk about traits. Traits are a bunch of modifiers to the species that will affect their well-being in the galaxy. There are positive traits and negative traits, and you have to balance it out to your discretion. Will your species be 10,000 IQ people capable of solving functions and graphs faster than supercomputers? Or maybe even augmented superhumans with the strength to collapse buildings simply by touching it? Just remember to always pick this, as it is a risk-free negative trait for you to exploit. Next is the origin of your species. Some origins let you have a second species living with you, or maybe the right term is trying to survive with you. Origins also are the only backstory your species will have, and maybe even a purpose for them to conquer their stars. Some of them are Scion. You have a space sugar daddy. He buys you cool things that you probably don't have the knowledge yet to use, but you are thankful anyways because it looks good. Also, you're banned from multiplayer. Clone Vets. You have a huge arm of clones and are banned from multiplayer. Common Ground. You like to be molested and decide to lose most of your territory to the AI that will do nothing to help you. Actually, they might even ruin your empire by having wars you never wanted. Don't ever take this. Resource Consolidation, you are a robot. Tree of Life, you are a hive mind. Necrophage, you are undead. Doomsday, you are fucked. There are many options to choose from, and I highly advise you to try them out at least once. Except for Galactic Doorstep, don't take this one. Ethic. Ethics are more of a guideline for your people, since they can deviate from what you choose, but for a government is a very important choice. You start by spending 3 points into the 4 ideology axis. The choices you make will directly affect your empire, and you can't choose two opposing ideologies at the same time. The ideologies you can pick are subhuman Luddites that hate all robotic beings, or subhumans that r/atheism. Was slavery good or bad? People who play too much Mass Effect, or people who play too much Warhammer 40k. Brain dead troglodytes incapable of any logical thought, or liking to be abused by our enemies, by our allies, by the company that makes this game, and despite that, buying out their DLCs. I find it fitting that their HQ is in Stockholm, but I digress. After you choose which ideology fit best with your personal beliefs, you have to decide which kind of government you adopt. Democracy, oligarchy, empire, or dictatorship are the 4 base forms of government you can use. But there is still more. There is one less ethic you can pick: collective consciousness. Your people think as one, maybe through a queen, a psionic entity, a mega computer with a huge processing power, or any other ascended powerful being. Choosing this ethic allows you to play as a hive mind or machine intelligence government. Lastly, there are civics to choose. Your empire may have achieved FTL travel with constant power struggles and merciless backstabbing politics, and the only way to achieve order and progress was through a shadow council and cutthroat politics. Maybe the meritocracy has taken place and the admiralty is seen as the most prestigious career in an empire, or even your empire is a beacon of liberty where everyone has a shared burden and lives equally in an utopian heaven. The civics bring small buffs and differences to gameplay, but some of them are capable of heavily changing the way you play. The first huge difference is if you go the xenophobe route, because hating every alien species might not be enough for you. When you choose this ethic, you still have the option of diplomacy. Listen, I may hate you, but I need your help to pass this law on the galactic community. So, let's help each other out this time, okay? But what if there's an urge inside you? A pure, inexplicable, enormous despise for xenos? Then, you take the fanatical purifier civic. Congratulations! You have just turned it into an extremist space jihadist empire. Everyone hates you, and you hate everyone even more. Diplomacy is not even available anymore. You don't have to lay claims on systems to take them. You can just wage war and bombard planets as you like. You can, or better, should, make planet-killing weapons. But what if that's not enough? Then you can aim higher and destroy entire star systems, killing billions in the span of days. Finally, you can make an interface engine and obliterate the galaxy as you and your chosen people ascend to a higher plane of existence, where Allah prepared a limitless paradise congratulating your deeds. Other options similar to this one are the terminal exterminators, which are exclusive for machine intelligence empires, and turns you into space robot jihadists. Driven simulators, which are the same as before, but now you turn people into more robots instead of killing them. Devouring Swarm, which is the same as the terminal exterminators, but for hive minds, and you consume the people instead of killing them. And Terrabor, which are the same as before, but for lithoids, and you consume more than just people. As you can see, if you enjoy violating the Geneva Convention, you're in for a threat. Conversely, you can run an empire entirely based on alliances. You take Diplomatic Corps and Free Haven. You make migration treaties with gene perfectionist empires, commercial pacts with ruthless capitalists, defense pacts with honor-bound warriors, and research agreements with erudite explorers. Soon your empire will be full of different species. It will turn into a must-visit place for tourists because of our beautiful structures, art, and liberal policies regarding, culture learning. Everyone is happy and will protect you. That is, unless you don't pick xenocompatibility. Even the most powerful computers will choke and die 10 years in after picking xenocompatibility in the late game. But don't worry, the devs are working hard to make the late game bearable. Just don't expect to be the way you want. Fix the late game issue by improving our game or coding? Nah, we're doing it by limiting the amount of resources you can have, so the game has less to work with. And don't call us out for our bullshit, or else we are going to accuse you of being toxic and leave our own forum. My dementia impedes me from sticking to a single line of thought, and I often go on tangents, as you might have noticed already. Let's go back to the empire creation. There's one last government you can choose. They are...
I can't give credit. Come back when you're a little, richer.
The Megacorp. Imagine if nations would no longer exist because they were bought by our corporate overlords. These corporate titans are guilty of only one sin: greed, and they will do anything in their power to get their hands in every single trade deal in the galaxy. If you have a fervent love for shekels, you love the corporate authority government. Naturally, this kind of government comes with their own set of civics. Do you know what a sweatshop is? In Bolivia there were people working in one, and they fled their country for the promise of better jobs in Brazil, just to end up in another sweatshop. You can be the Brazil of the story. Open your borders to all refugees and just wait for the money to come in. After all, population is just another resource in this game. Naturally, some people may find this dehumanizing and fight against your never-ending profits. So what about you hire a private military company to defend your hard work earnings? Tired of wasting your precious resources to colonize new planets? Let a private company do it for you instead. Tired of receiving no income from religious institutions? Gospel of the masses. Tired of our neighbors being successful? Criminal heritage. Now you can penetrate their worlds with a rampant criminal underworld and live off their misery. After all these choices were made, you can go to the real options of your empire, like the name of your species, if your system has one or more stars, your flag, and the most important, the advisor.
You Xeno scum.
All your choices led you to this moment. Choose your advisor wisely, as it is the most fundamental part of our empire.
We know we're under attack!
Click to play and don't mind these options at first. They are mostly used to make a better roleplay game and shit to get achievements easier. Just remember, anything below Grand Admiral is easy mode. Now we can finally play, and we are just 10 minutes in. However, before that, I need to explain the mechanics. But even I, the most knowledgeable Stellaris player ever conceived, may end up mistaking something. If you notice this, just pretend I'm talking about an earlier version of the game. Chances are what I say was actually true long ago. I'll start talking about gameplay by explaining the economy, which is divided into 3 categories: basic, advanced, and abstract. There are 3 basic resources to keep an eye out. They are yellow, red, and green. The green is food, the most elementary resource in the game. You need it to grow the population and make colony ships. The red is minerals, an important material to construct buildings in your planets, stations in your systems, and produce more advanced resources. Also, if you're a rock, you eat minerals instead of food. Miners work day and night to provide you with the minerals that are the ground of your economy. That's basically it. I'm not a Boku no Hero fan, so unlike them, I'm not obsessed with miners. The yellow is energy credits, the cash used throughout the galaxy and accepted at every space 7-Eleven, even at the most remote, desolate places. Energy is one of the most important resources, as it is not only used by many important jobs, but can also be used to buy many other resources in the market. Going for the advanced resources, you have the orange and purple. The orange is consumer goods, used to make our people's lives less miserable. Every population needs consumer goods, some more than others. But not only that, some jobs have an upkeep of consumer goods to function. The purple is alloys, used to support your armada. You take the raw minerals from the depressed, overworked miners and give it to your metallurgists. Now you can have more ships, more outposts, and grow your empire. For the abstract resources, we have influence, unity, and technology. Influence makes you convince your people that the planet you just discovered and has always been occupied by Xenos is actually rightfully yours. Technology unlocks new ways to kill the Xenos there. And unity brings social-cultural progress in order to make your people work as one to create a planet-killing weapon and murder all Xenos there. Don't worry, the effects of the neutron sweeper only last 10 years, but in the opinion of the Xeno Empire, yeah, that'll take some time. There are also the rare resources, but they function exactly like the advanced resources, and trade value, which you don't have to care about unless you're a megacorp. But they are basically an extra income from your cities and systems. Just keep an eye out for pirates attacking your trade routes. Truth is, this is not a very complex game, so despite the odds, you are very capable of making a red number go white. You have now the basics down. We can finally get to the interesting part. War. Stellaris is a game about war, politics, and exploration. You have something I want, you better have an army to defend yourself or I'm taking it from you. 50 years later you come back and get the system from me, but your fleet's still weaker than mine. How can you even compete? Easy. You join a martial alliance and now there are multiple small armies together that make you stronger. 100 years later I become the emperor of the galaxy and disband any kind of federation. You are now alone again and my fleet's the biggest of the galaxy. You work on the shadows, make hidden allies, sabotage the empire, make terrorist attacks and dismiss the claims that you funded this militia growth. War is the most important part of the game. Being able to defend yourself is the difference between being a prosperous nation and being vassalized in Stellaris. So we need to go deeper, understand these mechanics. Let's check the combat system. Look at those stats, they are self-explanatory and easy to understand. So, looking at this war, can you guess how much damage is this cruising going to do to this Titan? Well, it's pretty simple. This ship is attacking with the X-ray laser. It has a tracking of 30% and damage of 30 to 88 on medium slots. But the hull of the ship has suffered damage and only works at 83% capacity. Also, you have an admiral that increases the damage by 5% and no retreat policy which slaps more 33% fire rate. To know if this will hit and how much damage we will do, we just get this expression to calculate the chance. Slap our variables in, find the derivative, apply Newton's method, and after 5 iterations we finally realize that none of this matters. In Stellaris, the biggest blob always wins. So just have a bigger armada than your opponent. What makes warfare interesting is that your opponent might know he can't win against your huge fleet, so he makes several small fleets and keep using guerrilla tactics until you burst a blood vessel while screaming at your screen. I can already hear the clicking of the mechanical keyboards from the professional Stellaris players thinking the combat isn't that simple. Then just follow the general rule. Have the bare minimum of corvettes and defense stations and rush cruisers with strike craft. When you get battleships, forget about all ships before and spend them. Thank me later. Enough about war. Let's talk about politics.
Can you speak English?
Fuck you!
For your empire to thrive, you need to be convincing, Machiavellian, and cynical. Not much of the start of the game, factions will be formed in your empire, and you try to please them all, because the happier they are, the happier the population that supports them will be, which turns into more resources and influence for you, permitting you to make claims in more distant systems and enabling new edicts for your empire. Then the galactic community will form, and alien species will join. You have to articulate your ideas and prove to other nations why the resolution you proposed is also beneficial to them. Soon other empires will realize your greatness and form a union with you. In your never-ending benevolence, you accept them, and in exchange for influence, fleet power, resources, and diplomatic weight you get, your allies in the Federation will receive protection from you. After acquiring unprecedented power, we return to the galactic community. But now the time to talk is over. They have to act. The infinite malignity of the stars, the creatures that live in the space between worlds. Cosmic terrors lying wait to destroy the galaxy, and only you can stop. Or so you told them. You will lead the galaxy and defend from all the horrors of the vast unknown, and when you triumph, you have a final choice. Will you give up this power, or hold it? There's one last aspect to the game that makes things fresh at every run. It's random events. You see, when you colonize a new planet, investigate new worlds, or just wait for something to happen, the game will trigger a random event to keep things going. It can be the discovery of a precursor empire, an anomaly in the regions of a science ship, a crisis, or even the war. Precursors are one of these events, and they are, as the name suggests, old people that used to be cool until they were dead.
Can't get up!
But how they died is what you're going to investigate. And they could die of many forms. Maybe they were in a giant spacefaring civilization that noticed a younger species being a little too intimate with new powerful technologies, and in the process of telling them not to make weapons of mass destruction, they ended up 6 feet under. Maybe they're going to use the entire galaxy as fuel to reach a higher plane of existence. But moments before the end, some activists decided that the lives of the unwashed, pre-sapient, shit-eating maggots in other planets were more important than their own, and decided to sabotage the ritual, turning their species into a blue powder that is now smoked by xenocrackheads. Anomalies are events that happen when your science ship is investigating. They give small buffs and are fun to read once or twice. They're usually good. During the mid-game, the Khan can emerge and his hordes will turn any empire that's standing his way. Then he'll die of cancer 20 years later and everyone will be free. AI rebellions will take place as well as some special events. And for the late game, a fallen empire can wake up from his long slumber and decide that the galaxy actually belongs to him. If another decides to wake up, you get the War in Heaven event, or a galactic crisis happens, and now, more than ever, you will have to fight for your survival. These invaders can be the Praetorian, the Contingency, or the Unbidden. Multiplayer. I don't play multiplayer because I don't have many friends that play this game, and also because all the online rooms have a password. But this is going to change. I have recently discovered this website, where I can rent a Negro to play with me. Unfortunately, none of them play Stellaris, but I am sure soon they will recognize the greatness of this game, and will be crawling to get my affection. Now seriously, up until now every brain-dead game journalist would be able to tell you what I told. Let me try to convince you why it's good. I will start with the music. When I first got into Stellaris, I didn't appreciate the soundtrack that much. I felt like it kept me in an almost sleeping state, where I would play like a mindless zombie for hours without noticing. But when Nemesis came out and had the best OST of the game, I had to check out all the soundtrack before, and most of them are phenomenal. Have a listen. Andreas Valdetoff and Bert Meyer for the music. Gameplay wise, there's no other game much like Stellaris out there. Not because Stellaris is revolutionary or anything like it. It's because the game can fit any other sci-fi universe into it, making it great for roleplay. In fact, the game is much more enjoyable when roleplaying with your favorite build or faction. There's also a huge modding community, and just like all Paradox games, there are mods out there that are better versions of their own paid DLCs. If I were to explain the mods I use, this video would get way too long, way more than now, so you gotta check out for yourself, but I'll let some essential mods in the description for you to download. Lastly, it's made by Paradox, which means it will have quality of life improvements for many years to come, unless they decide the game is dead. Criticism. Unlike Metal Gear Solid Revengeance, Stellaris has some flaws, and I'll address them now. First, it's made by Paradox, and you already know what that means. Billions of DLCs. But unlike other games, the DLCs don't feel like optional content. I booted the game without any of the DLCs once, and it felt so barren that not even the best terraforming tools could save. One more problem is that it is slow in the late game. I can't play in the biggest galaxy without experiencing lag and slowdowns in gameplay. Also, the latest pop growth change was disliked so much that devs made it optional, and now you can control where the arbitrary population cap will be. What makes me furious about this change is that limiting the population was made to prevent the game lag, but it still exists, so not only are you making the game less fun as I have less resources to play with, I'm still having the same problem as before. And if I voice my complaint about the performance, that guy will appear. You'll know one. I kindly call them paradrones. After consuming all the possible seeming in the vicinities, The average paradrone will say, "You aren't playing on default settings. It's no surprise the game runs slowly if aren't playing as it's designed." Maybe the game shouldn't be designed like shit then. Another problem is with some mechanics. First of all, is ground combat. Land warfare sucks dick. It's terrible and I hate it. Mostly because it has the same problem of space warfare, but it's completely optional and it doesn't look good. You see, when you want to invade the planet, you have to destroy the enemy army first. This can be done by attacking for your own army. But then you gotta wait, because even though you can overwhelm your enemy with numbers, there's a fun mechanic preventing that. So you have to patiently observe the life bar of your enemy deplete, while there are at least 50 more divisions waiting behind to fight. And unless you're playing Empire Earth with primitives, this will take a long time. The alternative to this is bombarding the planet. Bombarding kills the army there and maybe also the population, adding some devastation. When the enemy army is low enough, you invade with your troops. Can you notice something funny? Yes, land warfare can be completely ignored by your fleet. So it may be a terrible mechanic, but at least you can skip it. Just let your fleet bombard the civilians and after some years come back to collect the spoils. Don't worry. Unlike real life, no Twitter user will reprehend you for this collateral damage. I will talk about administrative capacity, but this mechanic is so terrible that even Paradox recognizes and they will take off the game someday. I hope soon, it sucks. My last criticism is about the sound of exterminating a population. When I'm killing Xenos, I would like to hear screams of terror, or at least an enjoyable sound, but instead I have this. What is this even? Thankfully I modded my game, and every time a purge pops I hear this. Much more immersive, I must say. Expansions. This game has many expansions, and I'll tell you which ones are worth buying or not. Utopia is the best expansion the game made yet. It's so good, it must be bought alongside the base game. Apocalypse is a good DLC which brings planet killer weapons, the Khan event, and Titan class ships. Distant Stars bring a ton of events. Leviathans gives you Leviathans to kill your science ships when they're out exploring. Megacorp lets you play as Dual Lords. I love this one, and will rate in my top 3, but most people don't like it. Honestly, I don't know why. Federations give you many alliance options, but federations are terrible to form with the AI, at least it makes the galactic community better. Nemesis lets you become the Crisis, which is really overpowered and has system killer weapons. It also adds a meme and a useless mechanic. Ancient Relics adds a new war type and archaeology, which is cool to read the first time. Synthetic Down, Lithoids, and Necroids lets you play a new race and unlock many new playstyles. Humanoids and Plantoids are downgraded versions of those three I just said. There are mods out there better than this. Now that I have told you about the expansions, you can notice what I said earlier about this being a Paradox game, right? You see, if I were to review only the base game, this video would have been 10 minutes long. I'm not kidding. Just look for a purple icon on the top left. Every time I'm talking or showing an expansion feature, I left that to check later how short this video would be if it was only the base game. The game costs $40 and I recommend you wait for a sale as it has already cost $10 sometime in the past. Alternatively, you could move from the terrible land of Burger and go to a much better place like the perpetual dystopian hell known as Argentina, where the game costs about $5. Or 1 on discount. Also, the expansions can cost $20 and the DLCs 10 or 8, but I recommend you finding them for less. Maybe even playing for free, if you know what I mean. And by that I mean that you can play all the expansions if you join a game with someone that bought them. Only the host of the match must have the billions of DLCs. I will rate the game now. If you are just like me, a man children role-playing the same empire over and over, then you love Stellaris. I give it a great score of a huge amount of side crafts over the smaller amount of menacing ships I did, because they look like shit. This is one of the most kino games I ever played, and I hope you can give it a try someday. If not, just do it like I always do. Fight a shady den of evil where you can acquire a lifetime trial version of the game, and if you enjoy it, you buy the real version. Now I'll go. I have a lot of reading to catch up on, and a lot of games I still have not finished. Thank you for watching and keep an eye out, for there is much more content to come. Stay safe and see you next time.
Don't you feel silly? Don't you feel stupid? Don't you feel a little ashamed?